welcome back to my channel. I am so excited and this sounds so stupid, but so proud of myself to be sitting here right now. I've been watching and listening to like different business podcasts and such, right? And one of the things that they're talking about obviously is niching down, right? Niche, however you say it. I hear it said both ways. And I need to, because I feel like I'm a very like wide spectrum. So I guess like, okay, let me back up for a second because I said this is going to be my journey to reaching these goals that I set out to reach 4 years ago and have made zero progress towards. And one of the things I was thinking about, I was like, it took me so many times to finally put the drugs down and like put that lifestyle behind me, right? And it took many like I couldn't even tell you exactly how many how many relapses I had and how many times I went to treatment and did sober houses and I did IOPs, SOPs, residential. I did it all. I went to prison. I didn't really miss anything. I was going down that path of what your typical person in long-term substance use does, and it, with this terminology, I'm trying so hard to use the proper terms because stuff like addicts and using that to describe other people, that's really, not a thing anymore. Like it's definitely, people still say it, but it's not the proper way to describe people. And it's so hard because of my background in the 12 steps and just, everybody says that, right? Like everybody says addict, like that's what most people say, and I still say it. And so I guess it is okay to use that when describing yourself. Like if I'm saying like, I was a junkie, I'm an addict, like that's okay because I'm talking about myself. But I'm not supposed to, or people are not supposed to use that to describe other people. And it's just supposed to be like this person first language, and they say that it helps with stigma and such. And if it helps with stigma, like that's fabulous. I'm still, I feel like it may, this is my opinion, and everything that I express in any piece of content that I put out is obviously my opinion or my experience. It is not a blanket statement for everybody, because everyone who experiences addiction, substance use disorder, experiences a little bit differently. Like, yes, there are absolutely things that we all can relate to that are the same, but it's more individualized than you think. And I think through like my experience in the rooms and the 12-step fellowship, it very much made us all the same. We all suffer from this disease. We're all this, we're all that. And while, parts of it are true, there are parts that are very individualized. And it is not necessarily this worked for me, so it's going to work for you because we both went through a heroin addiction. That's not necessarily the truth, right? There are things that work for some people. Like just because we did the same drugs and even ran with the same people and used the same way does not mean that we are going to recover the same way. It doesn't mean that what I do in my recovery is the same exact thing that you should do in your recovery, because it might not work for you. You may need more therapy than me. I may have need more therapy than you. It's just one of those things that, you don't, it's so individualized, but we treat it so, I don't really know. I'm sure there's a better word, but just for everybody, right? Like, and then that's not the way I have discovered in my journey that is not the way, right? Like there are just different pathways for a reason. These days, there are different pathways than there hasn't always been. And that's kind of where I am stuck with my opinion on 12-step programs. When I first came into this and sharing my story online, I was always very much whatever works for you, whatever the pathway is, whatever, I support all pathways. Now time has gone on and more people on the internet are speaking out against AA. There is very much on TikTok a large community, and it seems to be growing all the time, of basically anti 12 step. It's like anti 12 step, it's like a niche now, honestly. And the more I listen to them, the more I agree with them, and the more that I lean towards the side of anti 12 step groups. But I caution and I pump the brakes to actually put myself, even though I'm sure there are people that would put me in that category. I struggle to say that I fully am anti 12 step. Well, I don't know if I fully fit that category, because there was a time in my life that it did serve a purpose. There are things from there that now, I'm starting to see maybe a little harmful in the way that I think, but I've also thought of them to be a positive. And what I mean by that is being able to see my fault and my side in everything. That is something I learned from the rooms. That is something I learned from doing my 4-step, from, taking regular 10-step inventory, doing 10, 11, and 12 all the time. Like, I learned to be able to see my part in everything. And in some instances, maybe it's not healthy, because, maybe if someone is completely wronging you, maybe it's not good to just search for your part, because maybe that can be kind of unhealthy. I don't know. Some of this stuff I will get into in more detail, but a lot of it I'm just sort of starting to discover on my own. And I think that doing these, my Thursday kind of just, I need to think of a cool name for them, but just my Thursday word vomits will help me pick topics, because hopefully, as people watch this, it may take a long time, but hopefully people will, leave comments, and I can see what people are interested in, and I can ask on my other social media, like, Instagram and TikTok, and see what topics people want me to get into more. But this really is like a journey. Like, this is me figuring stuff out. Like, I'm going to be 37 in October. Right now, it is basically the end of August. And I cannot believe how far in this year we are. Like, here we are. September rolls around in just a couple weeks. And like I said, it'll be 4 years on September 18th since I made my first post trying to start my online business. 4 flippin' years. Like, what the heck? Time just goes by so quickly. It's insane. It really is insane. And, this, I don't know, I may have touched on this last week, but the time blindness for, like, with ADHD, and, like, understanding what that is. And I still don't, like, I'm not an expert on it. I want to find out more about it, and I'll probably do a specific YouTube video about it. I just feel like it really is just so real, because I am just, I can't believe here we are, about to start September again. Like, it's wild. It's wild. Time goes by, and that's what is making me realize, like, I need to sit down and I need to get things accomplished, because the time's going to go by anyways. This time is going to go by. And, do I really want to look at the end of this year and be like, wow, like, again, I just let the whole year go by. And, like, am I at the end of this year? Yeah, it's definitely not the beginning. It's not the January that I hoped for. I really had high hopes for this year. I thought that this was the year I was really going to get it together. And there's still time for me to get it together. But, like, the time is now. And I think that it has been eye-opening for me, and I just feel like I'm ready to make that commitment, because every day I see people online, like, living their dreams, and it's one of those things that's like, the difference between them and me is that they sit down and they do the work. Like, that is the biggest difference between us. And I got to sit down and do the work. And like, yes, I have ADHD, and it is strong. Like, and understanding, the more that I learn about ADHD, like, it is so much more than like the ability to be able to put your focus where it needs to be. There are so many other things that go with it that just my generation was never like, or at least to me and my mom, because my mom was like, yeah, I had no clue about all this stuff, as she's, because she's starting to learn more about it, and she understands it and me, and honestly where my addiction started, because there are certain characteristics and things of my ADHD that just made me feel so less than, because I was never good enough at anything, and I always wanted to be good at something right away, and if I wasn't, I wouldn't practice. I wouldn't, like, I saw other people, even if they had been doing it longer than me, and I knew they had been doing it longer than me, because they were better than me, I didn't want to do it, and I would shut down. And my parents gave me every opportunity to try everything. I played the clarinet, the piano, I did soccer, lacrosse, I ran track, like I did all these different things. I did karate, I did dance, I'm sure there's more. I did Girl Scouts, but everything after a short, some things I gave a few years, but I never, by middle school, I was not regularly going to any outside stuff, like when I would go to soccer and all that stuff. Probably gonna need to cut this part out because this is just not important. So yeah, we'll talk about that stuff at another time because I'm rambling. But what I want to really focus on is me focusing, and me getting these things done and not finding excuses and understanding that my ADHD is real, and what am I going to do to compensate for that? Because there are plenty of business owners. There are business owners that have made their business around ADHD, and that's basically what I need to do. Is just, I may not be able to do things the regular way, right? Like just how I had an IEP in school, which basically only gave me untimed testing, but I need to figure out how to make these things in my business work for my brain when there's not enough dopamine, and how am I going to structure dopamine in my day so that I can do what I need to do, right? Yeah. Damn, I feel like this was all over the place, and it is. But, these right now in the beginning, again, are just me figuring out my way. Kind of like with the Beyond the Rooms podcast, like season 1, it was just Dana and I figuring out our way. Now we feel more confident. Now we know what we are looking for to bring to our audience. I feel like season 1 was for us, and seasons, like the rest of the seasons, are going to be for our audience. Now that we are comfortable, and I feel like that's how my YouTube channel is going to go. The beginning few episodes are going to be for me and finding my way and finding my voice and figuring out, what topics and how I want to cover it. And then the rest will be for you guys. It'll be me putting out content that hopefully you want to see, educate, like we'll educate ourselves together, because I am not an expert on anything. And that is kind of what this journey is to educate myself and just get myself right, like mind, body, spirit, so that I can go on and accomplish things and, become a master of my craft and my business, and hopefully be able to help a lot of people, so yeah. And I do have my Up Top t-shirt on, and Up Top is a medical dispensary in Framingham. I work with them and they're awesome. Like, the reason that I work with them, so I'm gonna say good things about them, but I wouldn't work with them if I didn't have good things to say, right? And the fact that they even approached me as a small creator, usually you see people with larger audiences be approached by dispensaries, especially in my area. You don't really see a whole lot of small accounts approached, but they approached me because they care about the community and the people in the community, and they want different people and the different people that smoke and consume cannabis for different reasons to be represented, right? Because I feel like a lot of times in the cannabis world, especially now that Massachusetts is recreational, you see recreational represented more than medical in terms of content creators or influencers, right? Because, I just feel like it's appealed more to that audience, which almost adds to the stigma, in my opinion, of what people think of when they think of cannabis consumers. And a big part of what I want to do is end that stigma, because there are so many people that consume for medical reasons, right? So yeah. And there's nothing wrong with consuming for recreational reasons either. Like, I do both, to be honest. To be 100% honest, there are times I use it medicinally and times I use it recreationally. But yeah, I don't even know what the hell I'm going to title this, because I am all over the place. Like, seriously. This is why, okay, lesson number 1. This is my first lesson in doing this. You cannot have make a YouTube video with a million different topics in one, or at least not in the beginning when you're trying to create it and find your audience, because there's no way to name this. And like, YouTube, when it indexes it, even when I use keywords and stuff, it's going to be, all right, I learned my first lesson. Great. So let me end this before I waste any more time, because this is not a good one. But again, it's me learning. This is my path. And then I promise you guys, I'll make content that is centered around you. I'm just trying to figure all of this out. But we are going to learn together. We're going to grow together. And then hopefully I'm going to make some great content that, that I enjoy making and that you enjoy watching. So, yeah. Oh boy. All right, guys. Until next week, because I probably am not going to upload before next Thursday. But maybe I will, hopefully, but probably not. I don't know why I'm singing. Okay. Bye.